Hello everyone! Today's topic is the disruption of the current banking system. Within the current model, banks are involved in every transaction made. As a middleman, they have control over the process and usually charge a fee to carry out the transaction. Wouldn't it be great to conduct a transaction without the involvement of any of these third parties? To carry out a transaction between you and the other side of the world instantly and without a fee? With the introduction of the cryptocurrency, this has become a possibility. What is a cryptocurrency and how does it work? To answer that question, let's focus on two of the most popular cryptocurrencies and their underlying technology, the blockchain. The blockchain is a database that maintains an ever-growing list of records. These records are called blocks. Each block contains a timestamp and a link to a previous block, thereby forming a chain. What is so unique about the blockchain is that the database is distributed among many computers around the world. As these computers all have a copy of the same database, the blockchain is virtually insusceptible to any attack or takedown. The distribution of the database also provides security against tampering and revision. Cryptocurrencies use the blockchain technology to have an open and secure digital ledger of all transactions ever made. The blocks then contain information about transactions. Each computer that has a copy of the ledger is called a node. Special nodes, known as mining nodes, validate transactions, add them to the block they are creating, and then broadcast the completed block to other nodes. These miners are then rewarded a small fee for their work. The decentralized nature of a cryptocurrency is interesting as a replacement for traditional currencies. Let's look at the most popular cryptocurrency today, Bitcoin. In 2008, an anonymous user or users, only known by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, left a document on the internet proposing a new digital currency, known as Bitcoin. Bitcoin would grow out to be the first decentralized digital currency only a few months later. Let's illustrate how Bitcoin works. When a transaction is to be made, a buyer can directly transfer Bitcoin to another party by using that party's Bitcoin address. A Bitcoin address is represented by 26 to 35 alphanumeric characters. From the buyer's wallet, the amount of Bitcoin is then sent to the seller instantly. The transaction is verified by miners and recorded in the ledger. As mentioned before, miners keep the blockchain consistent, complete, and unalterable by repeatedly verifying and collecting newly broadcast transactions. The miners are rewarded possible transaction fees and newly created Bitcoin. The newly generated Bitcoin are released roughly every 10 minutes, and the rate at which they would be generated would drop by half every 4 years. Satoshi Nakamoto set a monetary policy at the start of the Bitcoin concept so that there would only ever be 21 million Bitcoins in total. The reward for miners is eventually decreased to zero when the limit of 21 million Bitcoins will be reached. And this is expected to happen around 2140. Now that we've seen Bitcoin, let's take a look at another cryptocurrency based on the blockchain. Ethereum provides a decentralized virtual machine that can execute peer-to-peer contracts using a cryptocurrency known as Ether. It was proposed by Vitalik Buterin in late 2013 and released almost 2 years later. Its development was funded by crowdfunding, with investors buying Ether with Bitcoin. Currently, there has been an interest in Ethereum from large firms like IBM, Microsoft, and JP Morgan Chase to solve issues in various industries. Because the value of Ether raised from about $1 to around $12 in 1 year, the total value of all Ether combined was over $1 billion in May 2016. This relatively new currency is therefore a serious contender for a dominant cryptocurrency. So now that we've seen two different cryptocurrencies, what are their pros and cons? Bitcoin is created to be an alternative for traditional currencies. On the other hand, Ether as a currency is created for financing the internal process of Ethereum, the virtual machine that can execute contracts. They thus have two different purposes, and as such the then revolutionary Bitcoin is more widely accepted than the more recent Ether. This makes the price of Bitcoin currently about 47 times as high as Ether. And as both currencies are traded in a way comparable to stocks, their price can be volatile per circumstances, which leads to a price fluctuation over time. Both make use of the blockchain technology that is seen as a threat to the current banking system. When comparing both cryptocurrencies with traditional currencies, such as euros or dollars, we can see that they are not widely accepted yet. Although more and more companies are accepting Bitcoin as a currency, it is still difficult to use them offline. So which cryptocurrency is better to use? For daily online transactions, Bitcoin is a more convenient cryptocurrency to use as opposed to Ether. This is mainly due to Bitcoin being more widely accepted as it is years older than Ether. Nonetheless, the question whether these cryptocurrencies will ultimately replace traditional money remains. Experts believe that the price of Bitcoin will only go up as it attracts more interest. As its price increases, Bitcoin continues to attract more users and therefore leads to a higher acceptance by merchants. However, the more important underlying technology, the blockchain, is the real innovation that allowed for decentralized cryptocurrencies. Banks are gaining an interest in the technology for their own activities. IBM recently stated that 15% of top global banks will roll out blockchain products in 2017, and 65% of banks expected to have blockchain projects in production in 3 years' time. So even if cryptocurrencies ultimately cease to exist, the blockchain will continue to thrive.